Put your foot right here. You can feel it go down.
That's Janesville renter Carl Hillman.
I guess it's deteriorating more.
Showing 15 News where his wife fell through a hole in their kitchen floor.
Fortunately, she didn't break anything. I'll show you the water.
Follow him to the basement.
And it gets a little humid.
Make sure you have an extra pair of shoes and even a mask.
See what we have to do. We have to go through dirty water.
According to city documents,
okay,
this mess is a sewage backup. Landlord Rick Donahue was ordered to fix months ago. At the beginning of February,
now he's giving us these notices.
Donahue ordered Hillman and more than 118 other tenants to vacate their rental properties.
We have to leave.
On a 28-day notice. Donahue says he's retiring.
Absolutely no place to go.
We always try to learn from tragic situations, and this really is a tragic situation.
Mitch studies rental housing law at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He's also a rental property owner. Not only does he say it's tragic so many people have to find new homes so suddenly, he says it's a shock to learn how these people have been living.
What more can be done to prevent that from happening in future situations?
15 Investigates found complaints reported to the city about Donahue's properties in the last 5 years, 300 of them. We also uncovered hundreds of violations inside homes like Hillman's that, according to the city, Donahue has never addressed.
I mean, he owns the property that, we've asked him several times to fix it, did not fix it.
The city of Janesville is now suing Donahue for about $27,000 for dozens of ordinance violations. Things like no heat or hot water, rodent infestations, hazardous electrical systems, and unsanitary interior structures. Donahue denied all the allegations in court.
The city does already have a lot of powers in its laws.
Even with the city's open cases, this law professor says the city could have done more to protect renters, including following up on inspections. For example, here's one order from the city to Donahue for one of his properties. He was ordered to make repairs on March 31st, 2023, with the city re-inspecting 1 month later. But the city didn't go back until July. And then another 5 months went by until the city re-inspected it for a third time in December. What could have taken 60 days to follow up on took the city 8 months. And still to this day, the city says Donahue hasn't done what he's supposed to.
I don't know why there was that level of delay. That really does sort of shock the conscience.
Another thing the city could have done, imposed harsher fines.
They're being written up, so the city is aware of them, but those violations are resulting in a $100 fine, a $100 reinspection, and months of time to fix those things.
$100 isn't much of a fine.
No, not when you're living with sewage.
According to Janesville statute, the city could have fined Donahue more than 5 times that in court, but chose not to.
It's already within the city of Janesville's power to fine up to $500 per day.
28 days now passed.
It's been really, really hard.
Hillman continues his search for a new home.
It's hard for me when I get emotional.
Hoping to find something affordable and safe for his family. Another obstacle renters face, according to Mitch, in Wisconsin, he says the law favors landlords over renters. Mitch says if a landlord wanted to evict a tenant, the case could move through court in 2 weeks. Now, on the flip side, if a renter does sue their landlord, it could take months for a court judgment. According to court records I checked, Donahue has filed over 360 evictions within the past decade.
All right, Elizabeth, you have been in touch with Rick Donahue. What does he have to say about everything going on?
Yeah, he said he couldn't talk to me on the phone. He couldn't do an on-camera interview. He could only text me because he was on vacation. But while he was texting me, he did blame some of the issues on tenants. He said that he wasn't aware of others, and he said that he had fixed some himself. Now, he ended the text with a statement he wanted to share, so I wanted to pull that up. He says, quote, "After 30 years in the business, I'm retiring. I would like to thank all my customers for their past patronage and wish everyone a great future." Now, the following day, I didn't respond, but he did send me a picture in a text that I think is worth sharing. Let's pull that up right now. This is what he sent me.
The Eiffel Tower.
What is, yeah, the Eiffel Tower.
A picture of the Eiffel Tower with a text that followed saying, quote, "View from room." soon. Once Donahue gets back from Paris, I'd love to sit down and talk with him more about the rental situation at his properties and all the orders from the city to fix problems that the city says he has not. Hopefully he'll take me up on that. I've been investigating the situation for more than a year now. I now know in the past 4 years, the DOT investigated more than 100 million odometer miles rolled back without the buyer knowing. This resulted in millions of dollars in consumer fraud, all linked to these wholesale dealers. But now, a possible solution to protect you. To drive a car in Wisconsin, you need a license, and you have to follow the rules of the road. To sell a car, you need to do that too. Right now in the state, there's concern about a common channel cars are sold through: wholesalers. Wholesalers, we found, are running their businesses out of buildings like this one, 101 Skyline Drive, Arlington. Believe it or not, records show almost 1,000 wholesalers have offices inside this one building, with more than 450 getting their state licenses revoked for things like unlicensed retail sales and odometer fraud. By law, each wholesaler needs an office, a physical address. And the photos showing the inside of 101 Skyline Drive given to us by the state, those raise questions.
It doesn't have a ceiling, which is kind of bizarre, and there are empty cubicles that have, it must be the license number pinned onto the cubicle itself, but you can tell no one's been in these facilities.
NBC 15 Investigates put the pieces together and learned a company called U.S. Dealer Licensing runs out of here too. It sells licenses to wholesalers and provides them with this so-called office space. No one's accusing the licensing company of fraud, but lawmakers like Representative Sue Conley of Janesville say its business model opens the door to shady wholesaler business practices.
It's an address that they can use on an application, but it's not actually a place of business.
But right now, this is legal.
It is. It doesn't make any sense.
The state's Department of Transportation investigates all complaints against wholesalers, including that odometer fraud. Because so many licenses have been revoked out of Skyline Drive, investigators now do weekly in-person checks, costing taxpayers more than $64,000 last year.
DOT has found a lot of increases in fraud in that they, roll back the odometers and then sell these vehicles to retailers who then sell them to consumers.
Since 2019, the DOT has found wholesalers have rolled back more than 155 million miles on cars in Wisconsin alone. That's enough fraudulent miles to drive around the world 6,238 times, resulting in an estimated $9.3 million in consumer damages.
And it's really just to make money.
Hi, are you guys U.S. Dealer Licensing?
NBC 15 Investigates wanted to find out from U.S. Dealer Licensing if these wholesalers ever step foot in the building at all, and why so many licenses are being revoked.
My name's Elizabeth. I'm with Channel 15.
We were greeted by 3 separate workers. Our drone, not the only thing in the air, as this worker went back inside with a certain middle finger raised to the sky. A different employee referred us to their boss, who that worker said was out of the state.
I mean, yeah, I can't comment. I have my opinions, but I can't comment.
Okay.
The owner of U.S. Dealer Licensing never called. So we tried calling him.
Okay, that didn't work.
The 2 separate numbers listed.
The number you have reached has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
A road to nowhere.
That didn't work either.
Representative Conley says more regulations are needed to stop companies from coming to the Badger State to set up shops like this one.
These companies are perpetrating fraud against consumers, and anytime that we find that in our state, we have to do everything we can to prevent it from continuing.
That's why she's co-sponsoring a bipartisan bill in the Assembly and Senate to redefine what counts as a wholesaler office.
It really is to try to tamp down wholesalers that are not being above board.
Hoping amending the licensing rules protects drivers down the road. So if the new bill becomes law, only one licensed wholesaler could be under the same roof, offices could not be rented by the hour or day, and cubicles would not be allowed either. Again, it's all to prevent this kind of situation from happening again, which in turn, lawmakers think will reduce that odometer fraud. The bill will be discussed in the Transportation Committee tomorrow morning. In the studio, Elizabeth Wadas, NBC 15 Investigates. Wisconsin's Attorney General estimates 10 days is a reasonable amount of time to get a response to an open records request. Well, some of the people you'll hear from have waited more than a year.
And as a parent, we entrust the school, these people in leadership positions, to care for our children.
That trust for mother of three Amy Ryan is now broken. She says the Madison Metropolitan School District gave her the runaround when she had concerns for her kids' safety at school. Ryan tried emailing her questions and setting up meetings with staff. Still, she says her questions went unanswered.
It's frustrating as a parent not to get a response and to feel like my family didn't matter.
With options running out, Ryan filed an open records request, a formal ask afforded to the public by law for information from government and other taxpayer-funded entities like MMSD.
Now, keep in mind, that was 10 months ago.
Still, no response.
Taking 9 to 10 months seems crazy.
Longtime MMSD parent Jim Zellmer is speaking from experience. He filed an open records request to find out how much MMSD was spending on literacy programs. 10 months later,
Well, certainly the numbers don't match.
he says MMSD didn't even give him everything he requested.
We've had a difficult time getting information from MMSD.
Bianca Gomez is the co-executive director of Madison's Freedom, Inc., a nonprofit that advocates for women, queer folks, and young people.
In November of 2021, we submitted a records request around surveillance of young people.
A months-long wait slowly turned into over a year.
We finally got a response in January of 2023.
Some cases of overdue open records requests have turned into legal battles.
There is no record request that should ever take 10 months to fulfill.
Tom Kamenik is a Wisconsin open records attorney. Right now, he's representing a local group suing the district for not turning over records for more than a year. It's one of at least 2 open cases against the district over violations of open records law.
I think they're the worst offender that I have seen in the state right now.
At MMSD's State of the District address, attended by hundreds of teachers, school board members, the mayor, and members of the public.
Hey, Dr. Jenkins.
NBC 15 Investigates tried getting answers about the lack of transparency from Superintendent Dr. Carlton Jenkins.
Dr. Jenkins?
We were blocked.
Said that we would be coming to your station.
Yeah, you
Right?
were communicating with
Thank
me.
you.
I just want to talk to Dr. Jenkins about
Right.
the
And you'll
address
have-
and transparency.
And you'll have an
By MMSD Communications Manager Tim Lamons.
This is a public event. I have every right to try to talk to
right.
Dr. Jenkins.
And Dr. Jenkins is speaking to the public.
Okay,
right now.
so we can.
And
we're
we
members
will-
of the public, and we
Okay,
have questions
so
for members of the public.
I understand.
This ineffective communication
I have no clue what you're even talking about.
from the district's head of communications himself
You're coming at me with all these questions,
went on for almost 12 minutes.
and I haven't
just
heard
wanna-
one question from you.
And then the pushback from Lamons turned literal.
And please, I'm done with this recording. I
Please
don't want to be.
touch my
I don't want to
equipment
be
or
recorded
my.
anymore.
Please don't touch me.
That was
I'm
not
asking
a-
questions
that was
about
not good of
transparency.
it. All right,
And you
have
not letting
asked-
me
you
ask
have
my
not asked one
questions to
question.
Dr. Jenkins
You have not
is
asked
an
one
example of me not getting
What's your
transparency
question going to be?
of parents not
What is
getting
the district
transparency.
doing to?
We're going in circles here. This
Right,
is
I
not
know.
productive.
I know.
I really hope you follow through and call me tomorrow so we
I'm
can
not
set up
going
an
to call
interview.
you tomorrow.
Lamons did stick to his words there. He did not call. And MMSD has yet to agree to an interview with NBC 15 Investigates to talk about transparency.
I think it needs to be a priority, and I hope that they improve.
In the meantime,
When they don't respond, it makes you feel like they're hiding something.
the fight for transparency continues.
Every family matters, every kid matters, and we should be listened to.
2 days ago, court documents show Tim Lamons sued the Madison Metropolitan School District to stop them from releasing open records. I'll have much more on that coming up tomorrow. In the newsroom, Elizabeth Wadas, NBC 15 Investigates. Here are more than 300 Cambridge Commission checks from the past year and a half. And these documents here confirm what's happening in Cambridge goes directly against the governing document in place. Hardworking people coming and going through town. Just down the street,
You're getting groceries?
Yeah, I got a piece of that.
Victoria O'Kane spends her hard-earned dollar at the local supermarket.
You gotta watch how you spend your money.
She expects the same dedication from her city leaders when it comes to tax dollars. And she's not alone.
You want your tax dollars spent the right way.
Paul Lavelle agrees.
Of course, the appropriate way. If otherwise it ain't civilized.
Those rules haven't been followed, though, by the Cambridge Community Fire and EMS Commission.
We're not changing the budget.
A group which oversees emergency services in 5 communities: Cambridge, Christiana, Lake Mills, Oakland, and Rockdale. NBC 15 Investigates used an open records request to try to track commission accounting documents, something board members have been asking for months. We turned up more than 300 commission checks written since the beginning of 2022. They total almost $500,000. The checks were written for things one would expect a fire and EMS department to buy, including insurance, items from a local hardware store, and firefighter union payments. It's not what the checks are written for. The issue is whom the checks are being signed by. According to what's called the Intergovernmental Agreement, or IGA, which are the rules the commission has to follow, each check, quote, shall be signed by the president and treasurer. But the vast majority of the checks are signed by someone else. Cambridge Community EMS Director Paul Blount, not the president and treasurer like the rules dictate.
I asked EMS Director Paul Blount why he was the one signing all these checks. He said he wasn't available for an on-camera interview, but told me when he was hired back in 2021, he was trained to do it. He said it's been a long-standing practice with the commission for years. Do you think they should be following the rules that are laid out?
I think they should be, yeah. I do.
Blount isn't only signing off on commission checks to other entities. Here's a copy of a $325 check signed by Paul Blount for Paul Blount.
That's not right. That's, no.
To be clear, nothing NBC 15 Investigates has turned up suggests money is missing or being spent nefariously. The issue lies in who is signing off on taxpayer dollars.
So you trust how the money's being handled?
Yes.
In the supermarket parking lot, we ran into former Cambridge Commission member Stan Lean. He had a different 2 cents to add.
I don't have a problem with it because I've been involved in this whole process since 1978. And yes, there are some improprieties on the surface. But if I need to have a gallon of paint and I've got to sign a check to get the gallon of paint, do I want to run all over Hell's Half Acre to get the commission chair's signature? No.
Lean says the problem runs deeper than the commission's pocketbook.
There's a bigger issues going on here.
That doesn't even begin to address it.
Stan Lean there, a former commissioner, says he can look past the commission not following the rules on finances. He says he is more worried about current friction between the volunteer fire department and the EMS department. I have that full story on our website right now at NBC15.com. In the studio, Elizabeth Wadas, NBC 15 Investigates. Penny Lane Cocker Spaniels doesn't look like this anymore. And that's because after a number of inspections with the state and sheriff's office, the owner has surrendered 25 dogs and now faces 40 charges in court. 20 counts for putting too many dogs in one cage, 20 others for unhealthy ammonia levels.
Kennel number 6. She was the tiniest.
When you know, you just know.
I just took to her really quick. It was like love at first sight.
Karen Doyle took her 8-week-old Cocker Spaniel puppy, Diamond Gypsy, home from Penny Lane Cocker Spaniels on the spot. Not even a week later.
My heart just sunk. It just like the instinct you knew something was wrong.
Doyle says her once spunky puppy could no longer stand for potty breaks.
I called Pat also. Pat goes, well, the vet's here. Just bring her here. And I said, okay, I'll be right there.
Pat, Patricia Rockstraw, is the owner of Penny Lane. Doyle says when she got there was no vet, and Rockstraw took limp Diamond away for good.
She goes, you could just pick out another puppy. And she goes, say goodbye to her. And she goes, she's dying. Look at her, she's dying. Wipe your tears, suck it up, it's a part of life. I was in shock.
A few months later, a friend of Doyle's alerted her to a page on social media.
You should check this out. It's about Penny Lane.
This time, she saw something she didn't know. Photo after photo, Review after review, claiming something very wrong was going on in the dog breeder's basement. It's not known if conditions like these caused the death of Doyle's dog. Nevertheless, the images were hard to comprehend.
I was horrified to see all the pictures of all those dogs that were just right beneath my feet, and I didn't know they were down there. I wish I did, because I would have tried to do something sooner.
I do detect the odor of ammonia, fairly strong odor of ammonia.
Complaints started rolling into the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
Very strong odor of ammonia at the door.
And the state agency in charge of licensing breeders and inspecting, the Wisconsin Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection, or DATCAP.
Hi, is Pat around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch one of the inspections from last month from the view of a deputy's body camera.
We're here for another inspection.
Inspecting to see how many dogs were inside and the conditions in which they were living.
What they saw was horrifying.
Mindy Callison founded an animal rights advocacy group and has reviewed all of the body camera footage. Her group, Bailing Out Benji, independently investigated Penny Lane and posted the findings to that infamous Facebook page.
They could hear dogs barking down there. They knew something was going on.
I can hear a lot more dogs downstairs.
After more than 10 minutes of convincing,
How many are down there?
Rockstraw, on April 4th, leads inspectors to her basement,
Nice and clean.
only allowing one person to go further than the stairs.
This pen here.
20 to 25 dogs stuffed in wired kennels, sometimes 4 to 6 per cage. And according to the DATCAP report, unhealthy ammonia levels lingering in the air.
It's a very strong smell of urine.
DATCAP's inspector notes in her report, quote, "My eyes started to water and my lungs were irritated due to the strong odor."
Those enclosures, they are too small for those dogs because they are bigger dogs.
Now remember, we've been remodeling, we've been changing, we've grown all sorts of stuff. They're happy, they got food, water, clean, whatever. I can sell all of them in 1 more year.
Well, we can't leave them down there in those small cages for 1 more year, to be completely honest.
1 month after the inspection, Rockstraw's breeding licenses were revoked. She's been charged with 40 counts in court for the conditions. Rockstraw's employee tells 15 Investigates she has voluntarily surrendered 25 dogs to a local rescue, and they've fixed those problems.
It really seemed like this was a problematic issue.
Callison wishes the conditions at Penny Lane could have been dealt with sooner.
Wisconsin doesn't have a lot of laws that made it easy for people to fix the situation.
In Wisconsin, DATCAP is in charge of licensing breeders and inspecting properties. What they can't currently do is remove animals, even ones in unsafe environments. Callison says that needs to change.
We could look at the Wisconsin Department of Ag regulations and give them the teeth they need to protect animals.
Working so change is on the Wisconsin horizon for canines.
Sorry. It's okay.
This heartbroken dog mom now hopes the charges in court for the former dog breeder stick, just like the happy memories she tries to hold on to of her puppy.
I don't think she should get a slap on the hand this time.
So what can you learn from this story? I talked with the American Kennel Club about red flags to look out for if you're looking to add a puppy to your family from a breeder. They say do your research. Ask for references of people who have used that breeder and find out their experience. Next, if a breeder is rushing you to pay right out of the gate, the AKC says that is a red flag. That breeder should be researching you just as much as you're researching them, making sure you're a good fit for their dogs. And finally, make sure when you leave you have the right paperwork with you, a breeder contract along with what's called a CVI, or a certificate of veterinarian inspection, to make sure your puppy has gotten adequate medical care and shots. Rockstraw's initial court appearance is coming up on Wednesday in Jefferson County. In the studio, Elizabeth Wadas, 15 Investigates. You care a lot about this.
It's this one case that will probably continue to haunt me until we find her.
Haunted by the night this fatal hit-and-run crime scene unfolded more than a year ago.
I remember exactly where I was.
Even more haunted by what didn't happen in the weeks after.
She can't run forever. She can't hide forever.
Officer Sam Breyer is referring to the driver who hit Stephen Fleck and his dog while the two were on a walk. The driver never stopped. Police believe Fleck was in the road for 10 minutes before he was found.
An officer happened to be driving through the area and someone pointed to Mr. Fleck's body and boom.
The officer tried to save him, but it was too late. Weeks later, because of a tip from the public and further investigating, Breyer was confident this woman, Tiambra Walker, was the suspected driver. A suspect who had a rap sheet for hurting people with her car. Police were in touch with Walker's lawyer, who was representing her in a prior hit-and-run case. When we heard the name Tiambra Walker in the newsroom, we went and looked at her court records and immediately saw, her 4 charges in a different case of hit-and-run with injury, and how she was in court a few days before that. Why wasn't she arrested then if you knew she was the person you were looking for?
Because all signs pointed to the fact that she was going to cooperate and turn herself in. Frequently, especially in traffic cases, we get word from suspect's attorney that they're willing to turn themselves in, and usually it plays out that way. But
that's not what happened. Walker missed her next court date and hasn't been seen since.
Yeah, I certainly think about every day we had the opportunity to get her and didn't. It's something that will continue to bother me until we find her.
Breyer says a year later, the investigation is airtight and the case is ready for court. All they need is the suspect.
But I think the challenge is she doesn't stay in one place. She has family here, she has family in Chicago. She keeps using any address that you'll find for her is a family member's address. Some of them, her family doesn't live it anymore. Several people have to be helping her and protecting her right now. At a certain point, we're going to find her.
Haunted, but hopeful for resolution. I don't want to lose sight that this is all about Stephen Fleck, his family, his friends that lost somebody that night that still don't have closure. What's your message to them?
We're going to keep looking for as long as it takes.
So that was only a fraction of my interview with Officer Breyer. I put up the whole thing. It's almost 30 minutes long on our website, so everyone can go and watch that there. Lots of really interesting stuff, really an inside look into all of the police work that has gone into this case so far.
Yeah, Elizabeth, we know it's been a year. We know they haven't arrested Tiambra yet. Have they ever been close?
Yeah, I asked Officer Breyer that, and he said actually a few times. They've been really, really close. But it didn't pan out. He says all it takes, though, is one tip. So really, if you're watching out there and you know anything, you could really help crack this case and get it to court. You can submit your tips to police. You can also do it anonymously, and it really is anonymous if you submit it through Crime Stoppers.